Welcome back to Relationship Smart Women, and this is part 2 of the Managing Anxiety special podcast. And this part is focused on finding a deeper connection to self. I kind of see this deeper connection to self as a vital, centering anchor and something that we can lean on when the usual things that we're used to leaning on are no longer available. So those usual things might have been going to work, or your routine, or going to the gym, or your morning coffee, or finding space from your family, or whatever, or just knowing how the world functions and operates. All of that external prop type stability is thrown up into a bit of chaos at the moment. It will settle. There will be a new normal. But at the moment, we don't know what that is, and we can't lean on it. So finding a deeper connection of comfort and reassurance and stability within is nearly essential in these times. And this could be the difference between thriving and creating new opportunities for yourself, even amidst the chaos, or kind of cracking and going down. Although, again, some of that is out of our control as well. We don't really know how the cards are going to land. All we can do is try and be as personally centered, resistant, and resilient, and courageous, and calm, and connected as possible. So this practice that I'm going to talk about today is what I'm doing in these crazy times, and it's also kind of the key to the therapeutic work that I do with individuals, but also with couples. Maybe there's a part 3. I'm not going to promise it right now, but I feel like it might be a good thing to kind of talk about how managing anxiety and finding that deeper connection to self is also an essential part of couples work, in the work I do with couples and relationships in general. But let's not get sidetracked there. Just to let you know, I haven't thought about how I'm going to express this to you, so I'm just freeballing it here. Let's see how it goes. So I actually was inspired to do this by an IGTV that Eckhart Tolle did that really helped me just center back in on the weekend when I was feeling really anxious. And it was just so powerful, and it really, really helped. But Eckhart was talking about the essential self being an anchor as well. And he was talking about, he read actually a parable from the Bible, which I want to paraphrase for you guys. It was about how Jesus was saying that if you dig deep into the foundations and build into the rock, when the rains and the winds and the floods come, that your house will be stable and you'll be fine. Whereas if you don't dig deeper and you build onto sand, that when the wind and the rains and the floods come, that you will lose everything. And it's kind of a metaphor for finding that deeper anchor within ourselves. And I recommend watching this Eckhart Tolle Instagram TV video. because it would really, if you can handle his accent and his voice, which I really love, because Eckhart, he was kind of one of my first spiritual kind of teachers back in probably 2003 with The Power of Now. And I remember getting one of his audios, and his voice used to just instantly bring me into a more centered present place. But he also just talks about the window into that essential self being coming into the present moment, which I totally agree. I totally agree. He also talks about how there are 2 points of consciousness. There's the kind of thinking consciousness, where we can get stuck, where we're kind of conditioned to get stuck, and then there's this other kind of deep essential self point of consciousness. And that is where the anchor is. That is where you find the peace. Okay, so my guidance to get there is a little different to Eckhart's, but they're all just pointers, and they're like whatever gets you there, whatever works for you is basically the idea. So for me, I come back to this idea of parts. There are upset parts of me, and then there is the central essential self part of me, the self. And this also comes from the work of IFS, which is Internal Family Systems, the therapeutic model that I really love. That again, you can YouTube and find more information on. And the model kind of sees it like a garlic. So we're a garlic bulb, and there are all these cloves, and the cloves are all the different parts of you. And all the different parts, every one of those parts, has the job of trying to keep you safe. And they're keeping you safe with all different angles and different agendas. So you might have a part that wants to keep you safe by keeping you locked in your bedroom, but you also at the same time might have a part that wants to keep you safe by making sure you're visible. So it's possible that you have parts with completely conflicting agendas, and it can be really internally confusing. It's like, why? Who am I exactly? The point is, though, that when the parts are really active and running the show, that you lose the connection to the self. Now, the self is always there. It's kind of like clouds and the blue sky. Even when the clouds are there and that's all you can see, you know there is blue sky. And once the clouds part, the blue sky is there again. It's kind of the same with parts and the self. And the self, in the garlic analogy, is that central stem that's keeping everything connected and together. And the self part of you is the part of you that's always you. That's bigger than the roles that you play, the clothes that you wear, the money or the status or the race or the anything that is externally you is not that essential part of yourself. Anything that is always you from the day you were born until the day you die, that is the essence of who you are, that is this part of yourself. And this part of you, this self, this essential self, is where your values come from. It's where you know your alignment, where you know what is right for you and what is not right for you. It's your intuition, it's that gut feeling. It's where you get essential parts of your guidance system and your personality, but not all of it. Not all of your personality. So when you are in self and you are led by self, you are clear, you are courageous, you are confident, you are compassionate, you are all those amazing C words, you are content, you are on path. And there are many ways to get into this self part of you, and Eckhart leads you there through connecting to the present moment and just coming back to that knowing of who you are as self. I connect to it every morning. I put my hand on a tree and I know myself as the energy that I am in this moment, this little little meditation morning trick. It takes about 10 seconds. I've been doing it for about 5 years now, but it's just a little morning check-in with the part of me that is me, that has always been me, that's essentially me, with the energy, with the soul, with the spirit. But another way back to that self that I find everyone can do, it's much more accessible, and that I kind of teach to all of my clients, is comforting the upset parts of the garlic. So the moment that you are going internally and finding a part that's upset and kind of going, oh, I see you. There you are, you're upset. Can I comfort you? Are you okay? I'm here. Anything like that means that instantly you've gone from being the upset part, being completely and utterly the anxious part, letting that be what leads you, feeling it 100% in your body and your nervous system. You've instantly kind of taken that step back, unblended, got some separation from that part, and you are in self, because you are that bigger part of you that is able to offer comfort to a worried part of you. So the minute you can do that, you're in self. If you're struggling to offer that part compassion, empathy, to not be angry at it, not be frustrated, then you're in another part, and you kind of have to keep unblending from parts. And that is where it can get a little bit longer, the process. I was going to say tricky. It's a little tricky. And maybe there's a need to have a therapist helping you. But it's still very possible. It's still very possible to just keep unblending, taking that step back from the upset part, offering it comfort. If that's hard, okay, I'm frustrated. So I see the frustrated part. Okay, thank you for trying to keep me safe. Can I offer you comfort? And you just keep going back and back and back until you can unblend. But I find this as a practice for me personally, and for a lot of my clients, something that's pretty simple conceptually and practically, that can really work to get you back into that central self part of you, operating from self, being self-led, which means not being led by your anxious parts, not letting them lead how your system feels and how your nervous system responds, but instead managed and held and comforted and nurtured by this bigger, stronger, wiser, kinder, more compassionate part of you that has always been you, that is always available, that is not going anywhere, that's like the blue sky. So here's the process, and this is the process I teach, whether you come in for individual sessions or for couple therapy. This is what we're all doing, and it's a process that you can use to talk to parts of yourself, to talk to your children, to talk to your partner, to talk to an angry person in the street. This is the process. It's 4 steps. I'll tell you what they are, and then we'll go through it. Step 1 is to acknowledge, as in I see you. And step 2 is also acknowledge, but this time it's to really let the part know that you get it. You get it on a deeper level. Step 3 is an offering of some kind of support or help or love or care. And step 4 is gratitude. So let's all just take a deep breath now, and we'll go through this process together. So deep breath is a good way to start. A hand on a heart, eyes closed. Yeah. A few deep breaths into your belly. Trying to make the breath a bit longer than usual. This all helps to interrupt the nervous system. And just noticing any tension or tightness in your body. And just asking any upset part to kind of, that wants to be connected with now, that you're really feeling, to kind of step forward, show itself. You might feel it in your throat. I'm feeling it like a tightness in my throat right now. You might feel it as a heaviness. You might feel it as like a visual thing or an idea. It's different for everyone. Let's just go with what comes up for you. Trust your intuition, your body's wisdom, your inner being knows. And just the first part of this step is, I see you, I feel you. Yes, I can sense this anxiety in my throat. You might want to name it. Oh, it's worry, it's anxiety, it's stress, it's fear, whatever it is. Say, yeah, I feel you, stress. Yeah, there you are. It's a part of me that's really scared. And the second part is, I get it, acknowledgement. So I get it. I get why you're worried, why you're feeling really anxious right now. It makes sense, right? It makes sense that if your job is to keep me safe, and there's so much uncertainty in the world right now and in my life, it would make sense that you're feeling super vulnerable, super anxious right now. It makes sense. Thank you. Yeah. I get it. And the next step is an offering to the part. So an offering can be anything from a hug, maybe get a sense of yourself just as the big, loving arms that are maybe connected to source, that are connected to something bigger, coming in and hugging that smaller, anxious part. And often these parts are younger versions of ourselves that have kind of got stuck. They haven't quite got past clinging on to a fear or a belief from a much younger time in our life. Or the offering could be asking, how can I support you? What do you need to feel or see from me in order to not feel so worried and stressed? What do you need from me? So let's all just ask our upset, anxious parts now, what do you need from me to feel like you can relax a bit more and not feel so anxious and worried? And my part just needs me to check in kind of more regularly, maybe on a daily basis, just to check in and offer it support and presence. I always like to add the words, I am here, I'm here, I got you. I'm not going anywhere. It's okay. And then you can, see whatever your part needs there and offer that. And it's really important that if you promise to offer your scared, worried part anything, that you really follow through. Don't make promises that you can't keep to your parts, just like to a kid. Like, if this is about you building a deeper connection and trust to your inner being. So if I say I'm going to check in daily, I really need to do that for, say, 5 days or something like that, for my part to kind of really trust that it can calm down and that can put its faith in me as the leader. The fourth part of this process is gratitude. So I now want to sort of turn to that part and just say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for looking after me. Thank you for always being so vigilant, looking out for danger and for trying to keep me safe. And I can see that you do this out of love. You care for me. You care for me so much that you just want to keep me safe. And this is your way of keeping me safe. And I really see that. And I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. And whenever I go through these 4 stages of just acknowledgement and gratitude, I usually feel that part just soften a little. Just let me be the leader a little. And it can be gradual, right? It can be incremental, like day by day. It might feel a little bit more like it's able to relax and trust you. And that's what we got. We got time. We got days. So, yeah, let's do this. So I also said earlier that this is a really good 4-step process for how to talk to your parts, but also your kids. You know, your kids are probably a little anxious as well at the moment. So, you know, the old way of dealing with issues would be to just diminish them. Tell them there's nothing to worry about. You don't need to be anxious. We do this with our kids, we do this with our partners, we do this with ourselves. Just stop worrying. Why are you always so worried? You shouldn't be so worried. Look around. There's nothing to worry about. Let's look at the logistics of this. Let's look at the statistics. Let's calm down. These things don't work. What works is acknowledgement. Acknowledging the scared part of you, of your kids, of your partner. Getting it. Being grateful that they are looking after themselves or their hosts. That's what calms us down. That's what feels good. It feels like we are heard, we are seen. We are not crazy. We have a perfectly valid reason for our worries and our concerns, and we always do. That these parts are always operating for a valid reason. It's valid to them. You might not see it exactly in the same way, but it's just as valid as any other part. It is trying to keep you safe. It has its own agenda. It has its own reasons. It has its own beliefs. And what's going to help is not denial or diminishment, but acknowledgement and gratitude and support. And that's what we're going to offer these scared parts of ourselves. And that is going to bring us into connection with our essential self, because we are acting as our essential self. We're acting as that deeper, more connected part of ourselves. And it's a beautiful feeling. That's what feels centered and calm and connected to something bigger. And yeah, I think I should stop rambling and leave you with that. But I would love to hear if you have any questions or reflections or insights. And I wish you all the very best at connecting with this part of yourself and finding your own way to feeling it as an anchor in these times when you can't lean on anything but your internal resilience. All the best, my darlings. Take care.